It is now my honor to bestow the UWSP Trailblazer Award to a truly inspiring young alumnus. Remember this name, Nelson Carvajal. He came to UW-Stevens Point after declining an early admission opportunity at New York University's Tisch School for the Arts, and we are very happy he did. The first in his immediate family to attend college, Nelson took every available opportunity to immerse himself in higher learning on campus. Always passionate and with seemingly endless energy, Nelson has become a visible force in the do-it-yourself film movement, and his work has been seen from Chicago to London and is published in Press Play Video Blog and at IndieWire and in the Keyframe section of Fandor. Hopefully he can explain to me what some of that is later. Let's hear more about what drives Nelson and his passion for film.
From a very early age, cinema was sort of a form of escapism. I was sort of intoxicated by the fact that people would sort of gather in a dark room and share this experience of a story on screen.
Nelson Carvajal, a video essayist and digital filmmaker, has assembled this look at all the Best Picture winners in slightly abbreviated form.
When I had professors like Rhonda Sprague or Bill Deering for video and editing, the immediate access you had to these wonderful people and their years of experience was, I don't know if I would have gotten that had I gone to something like NYU, because at that point you become basically a name on a list, another number. The first things we did before shooting anything ourselves, whether it was in the student television studio, was edit footage that wasn't ours. Like my first foray into Final Cut Pro, legitimately, not just messing around in high school with Adobe and all that, was going to college. And to sit there and go Bill Deering goes, here's a hard drive with footage, and now you need to make sense of this. I realized that trying to go any sort of traditional route, basically only being a production assistant for 10 years, or only doing this, or only interning, I was never going to have any footing, any place of my own. So I basically realized I needed to go out there and shake some bushes. And what that meant was creating my own little things, own little pieces of video art and short films, and putting them into the non-marquee festivals and platforms.
We did a video art show at the beginning of 2012 called Film is Dead. It was a really great thing for us to do, just to have a gallery, a month-long gallery exhibition. And yeah, it was all Nelson's idea. He put it together. I remember he called me up and was like, Amir, I believe if I said a film is dead, I was like, all right, I just went along with it, and we developed the concept more from there. But it was all his idea. He put the whole show together, and I'm glad he asked me to be a part of it.
And it was a big success. Ted Hope, his producer out in New York, he produced The Ice Storm and American Splendor, a lot of good movies, and he was a big supporter of what I was doing. He was tweeting about it, and this is coming from a producer in New York who has no business to do that. He doesn't live in Chicago. To see that, it was in the Chicago Reader, Bad Lit out in California had been writing about it, and so that, I think I was most proud of that, because it basically said all these things that people took for granted online, these YouTube videos that I had where I had 50 views, because nobody wants to watch video art with their free time, let's be honest, unless you have a core audience. They saw it in an exciting way. You walked into this art gallery and you looked around and you saw television monitors stacked on top of milk crates, film strips hanging, posters that were decrepit, a small casket with reels of film in it. Everything about it was saying, this is dead. This is old movies and they're gone. And the new movies are sort of new and they're not fully formed, and we don't really know how to describe them, but they're just as compelling, they're just as powerful as whatever movie won Best Picture last year. And also open up doors for other platforms, like Matt Solar-Seitz, who's the TV editor of New York Magazine, and now he's the editor-in-chief of RogerEbert.com. He runs a video essay website on cinema for IndieWire, and he saw one of the videos about my art show, not videos that was in it, but a video about it, showing the gallery, and he had found me online, contacted me, and said, I like what you're doing, and would you like to make some video essays for IndieWire on cinema, using your style? And I was like, sure. And then that I did that for a few months, and a lot of the video essays I made for that got like picked up by like Slate and other magazines and online websites, and then that eventually I was approached by the editor of Fandor out in San Francisco, and she was like, you know, Kevin Lee, who was a contributor to, was a far-flung correspondent from China for Roger Ebert, said, you know, I like your work too, can you make something for us? And now next thing you know, I'm doing niche video essays for an online basically version of Netflix for independent films.
I was living out in LA. I was out there for like 17 years and just had moved back to Chicago and brought a film here to Chicago International Film Festival made in China. And Nelson was just one of the young, you know, kids out there who were just really out there trying to find stories to write about for Chicago. He just has this like relentless, undying hunger for reaching out and getting this message across about sort of this evolution of film that's happening right now. And I think he's just a really sort of forward-thinking, progressive guy who understands where the technology and the media is leading, and sort of trying to come up with sort of progressive ways to get that out.
He's a great creator. You know, he thinks about things and, you know, applies his knowledge to everyday situations, and he's a great guy to know.
What the experience at Stevens Point really taught me was that it's not about, you know, where you go, the sort of name that comes at something, it's about what you do while you're there.
Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the stage the 2013 Trailblazer Award recipient, Nelson Carvajal.
Well, you know, I spent most of the evening, like everybody else here, watching these great professionals who have decades and decades of experience and accolades and recognition, and I just think to myself, well, crap, I graduated college 6 years ago. It's like, why didn't I go first? So any hope of me saying anything profound was already out the window at that point. But what I will say is kind of what the soundbite they chose at the end of it is, I do believe in that. Like, it's not about where you go, it's about what you do while you're there. And I don't think that just for education. I mean that in any sort of realm of life, in this thing called the human experience. Because, you know, I come from really nothing in Chicago, like a very poor family, the first of my immediate family to go to college. And the idea from like the sort of background I come from of going anywhere after high school and not having a kid at that point, was sort of out of reach. And coming to a place like Stevens Point was so instrumental, not just because it was an out-of-state college for me, it was just a completely different culture. Like, you know, I come from a place where it's just like, you know, I grew up with people who died while I was growing up because it was a tough little neighborhood, but you come here and it's just like, it's the complete opposite. It's a population of less than 30,000, really, really generous people, and a completely different setting. And what that told me was that, like, you know, what I thought I was an expert in, I was completely mistaken on. And it also was an invitation to just sort of embrace education in a new way. Whereas, like, in Chicago, I went to high school trying to get good grades, not to be a smart kid, it was because I was trying to escape a certain thing. And coming here, the intimate settings I had in these small classrooms and the access, like I said in the video with Bill Deering's video editing classes, I was like, wow, had I gone to New York, it would have been more of the same. I would have been another spoke in the wheel. And here I was able to excel more and shine. And I've carried that sort of like vim, vigor, and vitality going forward. So I look at this award not so much as a pat on the back to say like, well, you did it, bye. I look at it as more of a, I know, like if you're running a marathon, somebody hands you a bottle of water as you turn a corner, and it's just like, keep going. So that's what I look at this award for, is keep going. And I have endless people to thank just in this city alone for the 4 years I did live here as an undergraduate to thank. And I think they know who they are, and I will thank them individually. But I guess in closing, I would like to to anybody, well, I guess I don't know who I'm speaking to at this point, because everybody in here is so distinguished and accomplished, I don't know where to go. I would just say that, like, this to me means a lot. I think this institution means a lot to this part of the state. And, you know, in a country and a culture where it's all about name dropping and, oh, you didn't go to Madison, so therefore I don't know where you went in Wisconsin. I don't think, I mean, that's a common thing you hear about anywhere, you know. But I think Stephen's point is making the right moves, and I think, you know, wonderful galas and events like this are valid, and the exposure, the fact that this is being filmed, I hope will be utilized in a certain way. The last thing I will do, being a child of the social media age, is I will ask everybody to sort of smile for me, because I will take a photo here, and I am going to tweet it. So we get all this. Thank you.